TWM podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Wednesday Night War, your weekly roundup of all things AEW and NXT. Now, it's not the normal voice. It's the voice you hear normally every other day, and I apologise for that. It's Matty here, covering for George. We had a few technical difficulties. His internet isn't playing ball, and obviously since we're all working from home, it's very hard for us to do podcasts any other way, so I'll have to jump into the breach. But do not worry, I'm in very, very capable hands, as joining me is the oracle of all things Wednesday nights going into Thursday afternoon / evenings. It is the news hound himself, Mr. Bradley Cassidy. Hello there.
It's alright, yeah. I think a bit of a Freudian slip. It's actually gone out on Thursday, correct? Isn't it?
Oh, yeah, yes, it is. It's on Wednesday. I completely forgot. Obviously, it's the Wednesday Night War that goes out on a Thursday, but this week it's going out on a Friday because obviously things changed. You would have heard yesterday's excellent TWM talks on WWE releases. Even if I say so myself, it's almost as if I recorded both in the same day. But yes, it is the Wednesday Night War that goes out on a Thursday, but this week it's going out on a Friday. Confused yet? You will be. Anyway, let's run through all the admin stuff before we jump into the show. This is a TWM podcast bringing you content each and every day. News, reviews, and interviews on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Acast, TuneIn, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you do not miss a single piece of audio visual content. We love sport. They might not be able to do what they normally do, which is be the UK's best app to find sports bars in your area that are showing sports, including WWE. But right now they are running a lot of content online to keep you kind of occupied and entertained in these trying times at welovesport.co and on Twitter at welovesport.uk. WrestleCrate, they're brilliant, and you can use the code TWM Wrestling at wrestlecrate.co.uk to get up to 3 free items in your monthly box if you stay with them for the monthly subscription. In May's box, they've got an item from AEW star Brody Lee, so there's a nice little tie-in for you. Use the code TWM Wrestling at wrestlecrate.co.uk. I hope you're well, Bradley. I know we kind of had a bit of a mad last 10 minutes trying to get everything all working and all vertical and up nice, but we've got a lot of wrestling to discuss, a lot of fun wrestling as well. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk a little bit of NXT. So it appears the issue with the NXT Tag Team Titles have been settled for the current time, as NXT General Manager William Regal appeared on the bump on Wednesday morning, I do believe, to say that Matt Riddle was allowed to pick his partner, or as the case may not have been, as Pete Dunne ended up picking Matt Riddle's replacement. That might have been a little bit of a accidental continuity snafu there, because I'm pretty sure he said that they said Matt Riddle could pick his partner, and Pete Dunne did it for him. But it was a big surprise, as it was the debut of Timothy Thatcher. We'll think of a name in the interim, or during this, to basically call whatever Thatcher and Riddle are, as they disposed of the Undisputed Era in their NXT Tag Title rematch. Now, Bradley, that was a huge surprise to see Thatcher making his NXT debut.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know much about him. Where's he sort of wrestled before here?
Well, I mean, he's brilliant, because I was never the biggest fan of Timothy Thatcher, and he's really grown on me in the last year or so leading up to his signing to WWE. He's wrestled. He is American. He's from. He's a California boy. He's wrestled primarily in Germany for WXW. He was one of the original guys in Ringkampf with Volta and Alexander Wolf and Marcel Bartel, then Axel Dieter Jr. Wrestled a lot over here in the United Kingdom for Progress. Mainly, if you're in the market for a man that will gladly just beat 7 bells out of you, then you're in the market for Timothy Thatcher. I think he showed that very much so during this contest, because they really got over that he is a very tough man, including Tom Phillips doing a swear when he described old Timo, calling him, I think, the nastiest son of a bitch in the world, which is a big shock. But then your fresh eyes on him, what did you think of Thatcher?
Well, as a jiu-jitsu guy, I noticed he does a lot of judo throws, and he does a lot of martial arts stuff more than most wrestlers. I don't know if that was a gimmick of his, that he used to do a lot of MMA.
He was very much a lot. He was very much the catch. He's like catch wrestling shoot style. So I imagine a lot of that's involved. Like I said, he's like under the Volta learning tree. So very hard hitting, strong style wrestling. Yeah. And also very known. A lot of it's frozen. I'm saying a lot of it's frozen in slots. Though, if you ever do watch MMA, you will like this guy. More so, I'd say he uses more of them than he uses actual traditional professional wrestling moves. So, that's one of the reasons I quite liked him. Yeah, he's very realistic and very believable, and he definitely showed that in this match. And also, they've still got the unlikely duo dynamic. I did massively pop for Matt Riddle going for the fist bump and Thatcher walking past him. We're just going, all right then, okay, this is how this is going to work. And then the confused look on his face when he's like, put your hands together and let me cup so you can do the floating bro, which is really, really cool. But I like the dynamic. I thought it worked really, really well. Interesting to note, they did a little interview on Tinternet afterwards where Thatcher refused the other tag belt. Like, Riddle gave him the other tag belt. He's like, no, this belongs to Pete Dunne. You hold on to them until Pete's there. I'm just filling in for him. So that's an interesting little thing that maybe they play into that down the line. Maybe Thatcher goes after the tag belts, saying that he defended them for a long time and deserves a title shot or something like that. It's a very interesting. Who would his partner be then? Oh, it's a very good shout. I'm trying to think who they've got about that would kind of fit in with that. Gulak. Yeah, no, they could do Gulak. Gulak and would be great. Oh, they have Nxt there as well. Nxt and Thatcher would work very, very well. Like, so they've got a fair few hard hitting guys. It's a shame, but I think Ono's now not doing a lot with the company due to obviously recent events. Do you know Ono's been? I don't know if you've, because obviously we're going to give you a bit of kayfabe here. This podcast that he's done, the special that was actually recorded yesterday, released yesterday. I've not heard yet because it's not been put online or anything yet. But have you discussed that? Oh no, it's been moved to the we had a little look. It's been moved to the alumni page. I don't know whether that means that he's been put under whatever the WWE definition of furloughing is, or whatever. I'm not sure what's going on with Cassius Ohno. It's an interesting one. Obviously there's been no news from him yet, but obviously when that comes through, maybe if that comes through during some form of podcast, we'll kind of slot in, or you can read it up on twm.news. But it's interesting. But it's a great, it was a great way to introduce someone to the world, and they definitely put him over. Also interesting to note that they said that Kyle O'Reilly's not medically cleared to compete because they had Strong and Bobby Fish. They had Strong and Bobby Fish as the tandem that went for the belts. I'm not sure what's up with Kyle O'Reilly. Have you got any intel on that? Well, we've got, to be fair, with Kyle O'Reilly, I'm struggling a bit. I haven't actually heard anything remotely to do with that. That's interesting. So I don't know whether that's maybe a self-isolation thing then, rather than an injury. And they're saying he's not cleared to compete at the moment because, that one came out of nowhere because I wasn't really aware. So I was wondering if you had any inside scoops on that matter. We also saw a video from Tommaso Ciampa rounding off the show where he discussed his loss to Johnny Gargano last week in the empty arena match, which seems to be the style at the time. And he talks about saying how they're done, how they're finished, and there's nothing else for him to do. He said once it's over, it's over. But then a mysterious figure attacks him from behind and leaves him laying on the floor in this mysterious back area in the Performance Center. A single heeled boot stays in front of the camera, but to the left of that boot is the maniacal debut of what we now know as Karrion Kross. His face was on there, though. It wasn't just his... I saw his face. No, you saw his face, but there was a boot next to it that would imply that we're getting Karrion Kross and whatever they're going to name Scarlett Bordeaux as a talent. Right, okay. Unless Killer Kross is A, very flexible, and B, is into wearing leather platform boots. It's 2020. We're not here to judge. But it's interesting because a lot of people assumed when they had... when we had the little snapshot of Bordeaux and Killer Cross, or Karrion Kross as is now known, I have to get used to that, watching Gargano and Candice leave the building, they might get debuted as faces, and it appears, definitely appears now, it looks like that's not the case. It looks like they are having them as the next big bad to go after Ciampa.
Yeah, I mean, that's intriguing. What do you think's going to happen with Gargano then if Ciampa's going to be busy with Cross?
I don't know, because there's a bit of a log, like we had later on in the night. We had Velveteen Dream calling out Adam Cole, and Balor seemed to get involved there. So are they going to say that it's not over, and maybe Gargano's going to send Karrion Kross after Ciampa, and he's like, well, no, it's over now, you can't touch me, and they're going to maybe continue it with some sort of... But they did this a lot with... I think we've discussed Raven and Dreamer before when I've been on this podcast about they did have like other characters come in and out to elongate the feud out. So maybe Cross and Bordeaux are coming in as a way to like long the feud out, or maybe Gargano's going to go on to do something else, and I don't know, maybe tag belts, maybe something else. I'm not sure. It's interesting because obviously they're working with a very, very small group of wrestlers now. So I don't know who's where and who's available. So I generally am not sure what they're going to do with Johnny Gargano. Something we're going to have to keep an eye out on in the coming weeks and months. But very interested with Killer. The idea of I don't know how much you would have seen carrying Killer Kross in the while. He's very similar to Ciampa. A very methodical, very.
I've seen him. He's in MLW, isn't he?
Yeah, MLW. He's done a lot of his best work in AAA as well, and Impact. Impact was where he really kind of... I think he started in Lucha Underground and then went to Impact and did a lot of work in AAA and MLW. The promos are going to be delicious between these two, no question. I'm very intrigued going forward with this one. We did mention Velveteen Dream. He was calling out Adam Cole, who he offered out to meet him on this week's NXT, but Adam Cole declined, said he's going to stick at home and look to the future, and that Velveteen Dream doesn't deserve a title shot. And just as Velveteen Dream was discussing Adam Cole calling him the greatest NXT champion of all time, that raised the ire of one Finn Balor, who earlier in the night had seen off the challenge of Fabian Aichner in a very, very good match. Very, very good match. Highly recommend that match.
Is there a reason why Adam Cole's not there, do you know?
Say that again?
I believe it's going to be Adam Cole's not there. I believe it's going to be something to do with coronavirus, but I don't quite know. Is he isolated at the minute or something?
I would imagine maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's an interesting. Maybe he is self-isolating for the foreseeable. Maybe they don't need him to be there now, so they're just building this up, and they're going to have him come at a later date. Maybe they've got a limit of how many people they can have in the building, and they're like, well, we don't need Cole right now. We can build this up without him, because they now are kind of moving towards having. Because they had Aichner lose to Balor. They can't do anything with Balor and Volta now at the moment because I heard that the Volta is in the US, but I don't know whether they're what they're going to do there, what leeway they have between those two, and they can't do anything with Cole and Dream. They might as well just combine those two feuds together for now and see where it goes. But Balor and Dream is a very interesting one. I like that as an idea of a match. I feel like there's a lot of stuff to play there between those two characters, and I do believe it's the first time ever matchup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, I have no idea if they've. Velveteen Dream was a WWE original, wasn't he? He came in, very, very green to what's it called? Tough Enough.
Tough Enough.
So I don't imagine. I know that for a fact that they haven't in WWE itself, but I don't imagine they would have on the independents either. Yeah,
I was a feeling that they've not crossed paths in any form or fashion in NXT. I wasn't 100% sure, but that's going to be very, very interesting. And then other little bits on NXT this week. We had the opening match of the Cruiserweight Tournament, which saw Tozawa see off the challenge of Isaiah Swerve Scott in a pretty good match. We also saw a hype package for Phantasma. Actually, we should probably talk about this. We've not had a chance to talk about this. They actually announced the groups for the Cruiserweight.
You want to talk about the rules as well?
Yeah,
it looks like WWE Super Juniors. Like, I don't think we at the time, I think last week we all assumed it was single elimination. I don't think they've ever done a tournament like this.
As far as I know, they've never done a point based, like a win loss record based tournament. This is very best of the Super Juniors. It's also a very, very good way to fill up TV time for a number of weeks, because that means they're going to have at least, we got 4 times, like there's like, I can't do the maths off my head. There's like about 8 to 10 matches, their minimum that they can have each week. So Group A, if I'm not mistaken, is Drake Maverick, Tony Nese, Kushida, not Kushida, Tozawa, no, it is Kushida. I'm going to have to look this up on my head. I'm going to get it off on the website. Yeah. I've got it here, mate. Please enlighten. I tried to be clever and do it off the top of my head, then and I failed. Please tell me what the groups are.
Group A is Kushida, Drake Maverick, Tony Nese, and Jake Atlas. And Group B is Isaiah Swerve Scott, El Hijo del. I have no idea who that is.
I'll help you. El Hijo del Fantasma.
El Hijo del Fantasma. Thank you. Akira Cesaro and Jack Gallagher. Who is this? I've never seen this guy before.
Well, it appears they have changed. They have changed plans for this man, because this man was someone that you and George were talking about last week by the name of Jorge Bolli, who was meant to be, according to the internet never lies, the guy that's been kidnapping wrestlers. You know, the last few weeks they've had like Raul Gonzalez and Joaquin Wilde like taken in the back of a car and driven off on NXT. I know. Yeah, that was meant to be Jorge Bolli, which is El Hijo del Fantasma. He's been wrestling without the mask on the NXT house shows. However, they seem to have changed their mind for now, and they're having him appear as his mask persona. Lucha Underground, AAA, one of the best luchadors going. He's from that same class of like Pentagon, Phoenix, Aerostar, Drago. Oh, right. He's part of that ilk of great luchadors from Mexico in the last few years, and he's very, very good. He was King Cuerno in Lucha Underground.
I knew that is. I know King Cuerno. I didn't know that was the same guy, but yeah.
I didn't for a very long time. I didn't realise they were the same person. But he's very, very good. Him and Gallagher will be a very, very hard-hitting affair next week. We did get a great vignette for Phantasma. I was a big fan of that. Really big thumbs up on that one. We got a vignette for that, and also we got a nice little kind of origin story for Keith Lee as well, talking about his career and livelihood so far. And we also saw a new alliance as Shotzi Blackheart helped deny the interference of my personal favourite, King Kota, Captain Kota Dakota Kai. She tried to help Raquel Gonzalez pick up a win against Tegan Knox. However, Shotzi saved the day, and Tegan picked up the win, leading to a potential tag match next week. Is there any more in regards to NXT? Have I missed anything out there?
I don't believe so. I mean, I can have a quick look. I do. I think if you mentioned all the packages, and I reckon, right?
Yeah, I'm like I said, full disclosure, breaking the fourth wall. Obviously, George meant to do this. He had loads of notes. I'm doing this off the top of my head after watching both the episodes.
You make me look bad as I'm the regular. I also have to. Hang on, you missed a shot, Claire thing.
So should we discuss it? Let's have a little chat about the we spoke obviously on yesterday's podcast that we talked about the WWE releases, and we kind of looked over the stuff from NXT. There wasn't a lot, but there was a few. So like what talent has been released from NXT in this massive set of cuts that have kind of rocked the wrestling industry?
Well, there's a few here, to be honest. There's main talent which crosses over into NXT and Drake Maverick, which is why I had the bit of the when I was discussing about that tournament. And yes, he will be on next week. I wouldn't be working, but I don't want to be. I did have.
If you check out the podcast from yesterday, I did have an interesting thing of maybe he's showing that once all this stuff blows over, he's like, well, I want to be the first person that you rehire back, so I'm showing you how much I care and how invaluable I am, that right now you may not need me, but when this all blows over, I'm going to be the first name on that rehire list. So you never know. But I know Drake Maverick was obviously one of them. Who else?
Leo Rush, he crosses over into NXT quite a fair bit. Actually, talking about real NXT main sort of coaches, Ace Steel, Serena Deeb, and Kendo Kashin have all been furloughed.
Yeah,
these are all
Kashin's only been there since at the start of the year. So that's a like, obviously they've got rid of a bunch of people that have only been there 3-4 months, which is obviously a real shame. They haven't
been removed. They've been furloughed, which is basically where you go. It's different to furlough in this country because you actually do get paid in this country. In America, it seems you don't get paid anything.
Well, I was having a discussion with Smiley off Smack Talk, and it's a bit of a mess. I don't know if for definite. I have to talk to Dano. He's the financial mind on that one. But interesting times.
I've also got a few wrestlers from NXT as well.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I've got MJ Jenkins, who took part in last year's Mae Young Classic. She wasn't really on TV that much. So Josiah Williams, who was like a music guy that worked. He did the sort of the singing after Survivor Series. Dan Maffer has been released. He teamed with Riddick Moss.
He would have been he would have been last seen on NXT UK. Him and Riddick were part of the Outliers team that did a few NXT UK shots, but once they moved their manager over to Chelsea Green, I don't think he was going to be around for much longer, to be fair.
There's Deonna Purrazzo, who's been released, who's one of the sort of the rising women in WWE. It's actually quite surprising that she was released. And a guy here, I don't know who he is, but he's called Alexander Jaksic.
We had we had Dexter Loomis on NXT. He defeated Tahuti Miles and then was staring very menacingly during the tag title match. I know he's George's favourite, but Alexander was Tahuti Miles' tag partner on the NXT Road Loop. I only found that out yesterday, to be fair. But that was so obviously there's a big bunch of cuts from NXT, and that was.
There's rumours to be more as well. There's heavily rumours to be more NXT, not main roster, but there is more rumours to be NXT names.
Obviously we'll keep across that over on twm.news.
TWM podcasts are brought to you by We Love Sport, the fantastic app finding you your nearest sports bar showing the latest WWE pay-per-views. We Love Sport has over 400 of the best sports bars and pubs in the UK at your fingertips and allows you to book front row seats, giving you the best views of the action. You can also check out what sports are being shown over the next 7 days, making sure you don't miss a second of the action. Download the We Love Sport app on the App Store or Google Play Store. Follow We Love Sport on all social media platforms at We Love Sport UK and check out welovesport.co.
AEW was headlined by a fantastic match. Empty arena, no holds barred for the AEW Championship as Jon Moxley defended his belt against Jake Hager. What did you think of this match? I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a really, really good. Was long, but worked for the match. And these guys worked really well. I was a massive fan of this.
But I wouldn't go beyond good. It wasn't anything you go, oh my god, this is amazing. But seeing them brawl in the crowd, seeing them with the chair, that was that was quite intense. But it wasn't anything that. I don't know. I just didn't feel. I didn't have a sense of. I think maybe potentially because I knew Moxley was going to win, so it didn't have any sense of drama for me. It was just sort of watching the match as a match.
I see your point, because that was kind of, I think everyone really thought that it was going to be Moxley wasn't going to lose in his first title defense. But I think they did a really good job throughout the show of building it up. Like when they had the inserts between different people giving their predictions. I'm not even a big MMA guy, but I'm a big fan of them bringing MMA people in to kind of discuss about it.
How are they?
That was a massive. I watched it and I immediately texted Mike, who does the Wrestling World Report with me, and he's a big MMA guy. I texted him. I was like, they've got Ariel Helwani on AEW, which is mad. And then also showed that I've not watched it in ages because they had Mike Goldberg on it, and I had to text the group and then go, how long has Mike Goldberg not been in the UFC? Because I thought he was still in there. Then they've gone, no, he's not been there for like 4 years, Matt. I'm like, I've clearly not watched any in a very long time. But yeah, I like the insight. I love the Taz kind of explaining the finer points of Hager's head and arm choke. That was really, really cool. And they built up like a proper fight.
It wasn't like wrestling bullshit, but that was an actual... it was actually explaining how the move's physics. Because obviously, as I said, I've done jiu-jitsu, so that it was explaining how that move was done. And I thought that was quite good. I mean, it's perhaps not the best to explain it on like a sort of a program that children watch, because they're just going to go out and attempt.
Well, then they're not allowed outside. It's fine. They're not allowed outside. They can't do it. But I did like it. It gave it more of a realism, and also it fills the time that they've clearly got to fill, rather than kind of just having like matches draw out. Having these little inserts work really, really well, and I think they did that really well. I think both of them looked really, really good. And also they had Jim Ross. Obviously, this was pre-recorded because it was done at Daly's place like about a month or so ago. And they had Jim Ross call it on his own, and in a pre-recorded format, JR's fine. I feel like he did really, really well. Calling this. If they do more of this stuff,
he knows both these guys.
Yeah,
he knows both these guys really well, though. So he's worked with both of them before AEW. So yeah, he'll be better at these sort of matches than perhaps a more flippy, high flying match. I think. Yeah,
it's one that is. He just worked really well. I feel like he played into that big fight feel. You didn't really notice the crowd not being there for that kind of match. Obviously, we've seen a lot of empty arena matches in the last. Kind of few weeks, but one's particularly named that as such, and this was miles better than Edge and Orton. I will give it that. MLW had a pretty good one this week, and probably my favourite is still Gargano and Ciampa. But yeah, it was a really, really good main event. And then at the beginning of the show, we had the opening round, the second opening round match, rather, excuse me, for the TNT Championship, where Lance Archer defeated Colt Cabana. And obviously they're trying to get over Lance Archer as this big monster, but they really put over Colt Cabana, both in pre-match video package and in the match. They made him look very, very strong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the point of making someone that you're trying to build look weak. So yeah, I mean, it should be common sense, but unfortunately, there's a massive company that it doesn't seem to be as common sense as perhaps it should be. But yeah, it was what it needed to be. It was nothing special, but Lance Archer going over was quite. Was the right outcome, I thought. Yeah,
like they're clearly building towards, I think, Cody and Lance Archer in the final for that championship. But I like it because obviously if you just have him run through, like having Lance Archer run through Marco Stunt makes sense. Marco Stunt's very small, he can throw him about, it puts him over. Having them run through someone they've put over as a really like highly regarded wrestler makes Lance Archer look good. Makes him look good.
The problem with Colt Cabana, though, as well, is he's seen as a joke wrestler anyway. He's seen as like a Santino Marella sort of wrestler.
But they did hammer home. Like you had Jericho saying, and again, Jericho's done a fantastic job on commentary. They did hammer home saying that Colt Cabana's a very he's charismatic, he's got the charisma, but he needs to find that mean streak. And he's like, and he said you can't be. I think Jericho said you cannot be a wrestler for 50 years without having that mean streak. And they did show that because he was holding his own. Like he does still have his comedy spots. Like I still love the splash where he jumps. It's a funny comedy move, but it's also a very clever move where he goes to the splash, the guy rolls, he stops and then jumps again for the splash. But I think it worked really well. They put Cabana over, and I like Cabana, so I was happy with that. And I'm a big fan of Lance Archer, and I'm happy he's got his New Japan theme. I love singing that song. We're just everybody die. It's just such a great song. Love that. And I love they've still kept him just battering anyone that stands in his way coming to the ring. They've kept a lot of the Japanese stuff for Lance Archer, which is great. They've not changed him at all. They've just added to it.
They've got a working relationship. They've got a working relationship with them.
Well, they're still denying it. It's one of those weird ones where it's like those that couple is a couple, but they're not telling anyone. That's what we're getting with AEW and New Japan at the moment. They're like, no, we're not going out. It's like, you are. You're holding hands behind your back. We can see it. Kind of those are the two big matches. But there was a match that was literally my brand of wrestling in one match, because we had Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford. I love Kip Sabian. I love Penelope Ford. They're both great. Up against Chuck Taylor, one of my favourites, and Orange Cassidy, one of my favourites, with interference from Jimmy Havoc. So literally, it was 5 wrestlers I enjoyed, all in one match, all doing things. So I very much enjoyed this little outing.
It's quite good on the show, because I can imagine George not liking this. I didn't particularly. It didn't go to do anything for me on this. It was a bit too sort of a bit stupid at times, and then at the ending of it, I didn't like the ending. The ending was just kind of messy, and it was. Yeah, I mean,
I like the silly. I think if you've done the podcast with me before, I'm a big fan of the silly, and it was silly, but with two very good wrestlers. Chuck Taylor is a fantastic wrestler, and I'll fight anyone that says otherwise. And Kip Sabian is, I've only saw him for a very short time before he went to AEW, and he was one of my favourites there. I saw him, I think his last indie gig before he went to AEW in a tiny place that holds about 30 people, where he did his farewell. And I'm a big fan of that. And then I like to laugh, and I like Chuck Taylor shouting murder before he does moves. Just tremendous giggles. And Penelope Ford's like sorely underrated. Like, I don't know why she's not wrestling. Like, she needs to be you can see how athletic she is. Like she pops off that Rana like it's 2000 litre. Mm-hmm. Like that's
the old Penelope's left a sour taste in my mouth. So I think I'm very limited with sort of these guys. She did that really, really terrible head scissors like a couple of weeks ago on that Fatal 4-Way, and that's all I can sort of
it's a shame, because obviously it's on TV, so a lot of people are like, I went, you need to go and watch back. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I've watched her, like, again, sounding like a bit like, I saw her before, blah, 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 but I watched her come up in the East Coast with Janela from CZW, and I know how, like, ridiculously athletic she is. I hope she gets more opportunities. She does deserve them, because she's very, very good. And it looks like they're doing some sort of mini tag feud between Kip and Jimmy and the best friends going forward. I would love it if they did like a 6-person tag. If it was Trent, Chuck, and Orange Cassidy against Penelope Ford, Kip Sabian, and Jimmy Havoc. That would be fun. I also particularly enjoyed they did the whole Penelope distracting Chuck Taylor, and then they had Orange try and do the same thing, which generally got a chuckle out of me, because it's just a bit of light-hearted silliness. Another thing that brought tremendous joy, especially if you're a fan of TWM and you're a bit of an old school fan, friend of the podcast, Mr. Sugar Dunkerton, made his Dynamite debut.
Is that Pineapple Pete? I love Pineapple Pete.
Yeah, Shug D. Former.
I'm not. I hope you realise I'm never going to call him Shug D.
He's Pineapple Pete. Former co-host of the Wrestling World Report many moons ago. He filled in for a random episode. I also massively popped that he said he's from. They did the thing he's from Leeds, England. Via I think it was like Atlanta or something. It was great that he's referencing that he's from Leeds. Because if you don't know the story of Sugar Duncan, he's been around for ages on the indie circuit, around for like 9-10 years. And then he came over just to do like an excursion in the UK and fell in love with the place and got a residential residential work permit, bought a place, stay I think he's like the lead guy in a hostel. So he comes here for 6 months and then goes back and then comes over. He's basically become like a bit of a cult Brit Rest hero. Like, we all love Sugar Dunkerton. He's the best. So I'm really happy that he's doing very well when he's doing bits over now. He's kind of stuck over there at the time being. But he got ran through by Sammy Guevara.
The majority of fans are like me. They sort of know him as literally as Chris Jericho taking the neck out. Because obviously I'm not going to lie. I didn't listen at that point in time. I wasn't aware so much at that point in time as this was going on. So, like, I think to like some other people, they're just sort of seeing him as like this, this guy that Chris Jericho takes the neck out of. And yeah, I hope he stays around, because I'm loving Chris Jericho taking jabs at this.
I'm hoping it leads to a match. Like when they have the match where it's like the unassuming lower card guy against like the big guy, but like they get a few hope spots in, but ultimately the main guy wins. If we could get a match between Shug D and Jericho, it would be a lot more entertaining than I think people would give. Because
you could do it like 1, 2, 3 Kid and Razor, where you just put Suge, whatever he's called over.
He's great, and they had a bunch of basically it was like the first match and then the Kip and Chuck match and the main event. Everything else was kind of more of enhancement matches. So you had Sammy beating Shug D and then beating him down for Darby Allin to make the save. You had Britt Baker running through Cassandra Golden, who's getting around a bit on TV. She was on Impact 2 weeks ago, losing to Kylie Ray. She's relatively new in the Georgia area. Because obviously a lot of the guys that are wrestling on there at the moment are Georgia-based guys. So obviously they're in that area and stuff.
There was a dead tasty kid, Justin Laura. Was like he didn't look anything special. I'll say that one. Just like this sort of tasty looking.
He had Jobber written all over him, didn't he? Like it was, and I can't remember who he faced. Who did Justin Law face?
Sean Spears.
Oh, Sean Spears, and that lasted all of 2 minutes as well. We hit him with a C4 going as well, and that was pretty much it for. Actually, we've got the Bubbly Bunch. With the inner circle all on FaceTime to each other.
Bunch,
which was strange, but also highly amusing. Bit of a weird thing there, but I was entertained by Dynamite. It was okay. It wasn't as kind of filled as obviously the live NXT was, but there was definitely some bright bits, no question.
TWM podcasts have joined forces with WrestleCrate, the original and best monthly theme, monthly wrestling subscription service to bring you a fantastic deal. If you use the code TWM Wrestling when you sign up to a monthly subscription at WrestleCrate.co.uk, you will receive a free item in your first month's box. Then, if you stay for another month, you'll get a second free item. And then, if you stay for a third month, you guessed it, we'll give you a third free item. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. WrestleCrate brings you the best swag from the biggest companies and names in the wrestling world. We're talking t-shirts, photos, pins, DVDs, vinyl figures, and loads more from WWE, Progress, Shakara, NXT, Fight Club Pro, and loads more. That's WrestleCrate.co.uk and use the code TWM Wrestling for up to free items, all thanks to WrestleCrate and TWM.
So, we have come to the part of the show where we decide who won the war this past Wednesday. Brad, what did you prefer? Was it NXT or AEW?
I'm going to kind of step out of this one a little bit. AEW I'm going to go with, but that's only because I had a really bad taste in my mouth from WWE going into NXT. It might have soured me a bit.
That's fair,
like Drake Maverick pop up. It was a bit like, well, you've just fired him and now he's here. Like, it was a good show, but I couldn't get too invested in it. I think Vince is trying his absolute hardest to do everything to turn fan off WWE at the minute. So I'm going to go with AEW, but I'm not going to go. I'm not really going to, sort of say anything past that really, because I don't want to be giving us any bad press for this.
Oh no!
So what do you think?
Trust me, if you listen to yesterday's podcast, we give WWE as much as possible. But then again, stepping outside, I'm not exactly happy with either practices. Obviously, WWE is a lot worse at the moment. But for AEW to say they're doing double or nothing in a close set and still say they're going to charge people for pay-per-view, not on for me at the moment. But if we're looking at the shows as a whole, I did prefer NXT to AEW this week. AEW was good, but it was 3 matches and then squash matches, whereas there was a lot of storyline development on NXT. I really did like the main event, but that was a very good main event, and then a bunch of good to okay matches where there was just good matches across the board on NXT, especially with the tag team title match at the end. And obviously they had a bunch of stuff to go forward with that I'm intrigued by. The women's tag match that they're going to have, Dream and Balor, is going to be interesting, and obviously they've got stuff leading with Karrion Kross and whoever his other person is going to be, Scarlett Bordeaux. and Dexter Lumis obviously staring menacingly over the tag title match. So yeah, it was split under a split decision this week as Brad goes for AEW and I go for NXT. Before we bid our farewells and tell you how you can get in touch with us and TWM, Brad, what news do you bring us from the world of Wednesdays?
Yeah, sure. So next week for NXT, you've got Velveteen Dream versus Finn Balor. You've also got Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez for next week. You've also got 3 tournament matches as well. These are Kushida versus Tony Nese, The Departing Drake Maverick versus Jake Atlas, and El Hijo del Fantasma, as Matt correctly stated earlier, versus Jack Gallagher. For next week's AEW, you have got quite a few matches announced as well. You've got Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara. The winner of that will face Cody. You've got Kip Sabian versus Dustin Rhodes, and the winner of that will face Lance Archer. You've also got two matches from Brody Lee and Kenny Omega, but they haven't got an opponent announced as of yet. And you've also got Orange Cassidy versus Jimmy Havoc, and that's going to be a bit of an interesting match, I think, between them two.
Should be a very, very interesting week, no question. That wraps up the Wednesday Night Wars for this week. If you want to get in touch with us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at TWM Wrestle and TWM.news. We've got content going out across the board. Of course, as we said, schedule change this week, obviously due to everything that happened on Wednesday. So yesterday you would have heard a special TWM Talks talking about all the releases. Today, you're obviously hearing the Wednesday Night War a day later than usual. Saturday, you'll hear Smack Talk as usual. And then Sunday, you'll get your dose of Best of the Rest covering Dark Side of the Ring, Impact Wrestling and Total Bellas. So we're not going without a podcast this week. We had a little extra one there, so you're getting stuff across the week. And keep an eye on TWM.news. We've got loads of articles coming out, AEW based Dark Side of the Ring, WWE, NXT, all that stuff. So go and check that out at TWM.news. Bradley, how can people get in touch with you via them social medias?
Yeah, sure. So you can put Twitter at BradCassidy170 and search up my name, Bradley Cassidy. I'm hopefully going to get into writing again. I've actually got an idea that I'm going to shoot past yourself in a bit. So hopefully that'll be I can get back in the train with that.
He's breaking the fourth wall, ladies and gentlemen. He's put it on a podcast, so he's forced my hand. He's put it on the pod, so therefore it now has to happen. But you'll be checking out great content from Bradley and loads of other people at TWM.news. I hit my microphone there and I might have made a noise. Apologies. I'm a Matty ID. We are at TWM Wrestle. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe, wash your hands. We love you all. Thank you very much. Goodbye.